Hello, everyone, and happy Wonder Wednesday. It's sure been a while, hasn't it? I'm so happy to be back with our Floxies community live streams. And please, if you are watching us again today, drop a comment in the chat because I always love to see who's here live with us. And if you're going to be watching this video in the future, I hope that you'll still come and hang out with us in our community. And if you're here for the first time, we are Floxies, an international community for women in UX UI design and Webflow development. We have a super active Discord server where we hang out almost every day. And we gather here on a Wednesday. And so we literally gather on gather. And with that, I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we are, and put myself on the right or on the left. You'll tell me. I haven't done this in a while now. So this is literally our virtual metaverse. So the office where our community hangs out, whether it is for co-working sessions or mastermind groups or live streams as the one that you will be seeing today. So I'm going to walk up to our auditorium and
to start all the
Introduce.
Okay. Here. Okay.
Here we are. All the girls are chatting away, which is always a good sign. Hello, Floxies. Happy Wonder Wednesday. And that's when you go like, "Woo! Happy Wonder Wednesday, Claudia." I was just telling the audience that we haven't done this in a while, and so I'm particularly excited to be back with our live streams, with our community, and just to see the room full of Floxies, and most importantly to have two of our ambassadors here as speakers today. So we realized that we never really had a session, or I guess a playlist, a series of live streams held in-house by our experts. And we are so very fortunate to have a community full of amazing, talented women. And so that's when I was particularly over the moon when Irina and Aga, our speakers today, reached out to me and with this amazing idea. And they were like, "Claudia, we really want to do something together. Maybe it's not going to be a course. Maybe it's not just going to be a one-off. What can we do?" And so together we came up with this idea of the Floxies Summer Camp, which is like a friendly series of live streams. Relaxed. Yeah. It's very, very vibey. And as you can see, we've decorated the room and we have a little summer party going on outside, which we can show you later. But yeah, it's just a casual way for us to get together and learn from some of the best experts that we have in the community. And so with that, I would like to introduce Irina Zaman, Webflow designer and developer, with lengthy experience in web design, and she'll be able to tell you more about that in a minute. And Aga Guzik. Did I say it right? I was practicing her last name.
Yeah, you said it perfectly.
Awesome. Web designer and Webflow developer as well. So Aga has been hosting lots of mastermind groups in our community. So gathering our Floxies members together and really helping them grow in their career. And Irina is basically everywhere. So we even have an emoji for her on our Discord. If you have an issue with your build or a question about career, life, Webflow, whatever it is, Irina is gonna be there for you. So I cannot start to tell you how appreciative I am, of you both. And so today we're gonna start our Floxies Summer Camp, and maybe Irina, you can tell us a little bit more about what you have planned for us. I know that we're gonna have a few sessions in the future. I think it's 3 weeks, and then we're going to come back for back to school in September to wrap up, the playlist.
Yeah. So yeah, we decided to run these 5 sessions total of Floxies Summer Camp with a focus on web design fundamentals, which includes a bit of UX and some UI and visual design. Our first session will be focused on wireframing, which is has a lot to do with user experience, and our 2 other sessions this summer will talk about color and typography, which is like one of the main blocks for visual design. And when we're back in school in September, back to school. So we'll talk about layout. So we'll have 2 sessions where we'll talk all things layout.
Brilliant. I can't wait. And I think we took this choice because we were looking at the agenda and we were like, okay, that's a lot. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to cover. And a layout, it's a big chunk, right? It's a big topic. And so we were just like, okay, let's end it before the summer on a high. Like, I think we've got colors, as the last session before we break up, which is like super I don't know, exciting. It's like very summary, and then we can come back in September with the big layout beast to tackle. But before we get started, and I know we have a lot to cover today, Irina, can you give us maybe a 1 minute background on, who you are, what makes you passionate today, and just like, yeah.
Okay, so try to be super quick. I was first design came into my life in year 2000, which maybe I shouldn't have said, but it was a long time ago. I was briefly worked as a graphic designer, and I was a photographer and copywriter for some time, but eventually I settled with banking software. And it took like 10 years of my life. But then I moved to another country where my banking software knowledge was completely useless. And I had to come up with something new. And yeah, I came across web design and it got me really interested. So I did courses and then I attended a couple of online schools, which were really great. And I had amazing teachers and they influenced me a lot and they taught me a lot. And that's why I have that passion for sharing my knowledge. And in 2022, I discovered Webflow, and yeah, it's been my my love since then.
It's been your journey, so far. I think when did we meet? A few years ago, but
And 2022 is also a year when I joined Floxies.
yeah, I mean that's a beautiful beginning of such an amazing journey, and I've been so lucky to witness your growth. Like, we're so inspired by your work constantly in the community. I'm actually sharing your portfolio right now with everyone who's watching. So yeah, well, I mean, it's impressive to see how far you've come, but it's no um, I'm not surprised because obviously you're coming with that amazing experience that shaped the designer and the developer that you are today. And yeah, I can keep on showering you with compliments here because I really believe in everything I say. But I'm also going to give Aga the opportunity to introduce herself and tell us a little bit more about what you do and who you are and what makes you passionate here.
Actually, I am in the design industry, similar like Irina, for 10 years. No, Irina said almost 50, so 15. But a few years ago, actually, I shifted to digital from printing. And for the past 3 years, I've been working as a UI designer. And for the past year, as a Webflow developer, currently as a freelance Webflow developer. And like Claudia said, this one who are that if you are part of the Floxies community, we might know each other from our mastermind group. And actually, this is what drives me in the power of community, the being and growing together. And that's also why I decided to take part in this event, in this challenge. And I'm so glad that we team up with Irina, and I hope you will find this really valuable.
Oh, I'm sure we will. Thank you so much, Aga. That was beautiful. Um, Amazing. And so, girls, should we get started? Also, little disclaimer. I asked the girls, I was like, oh, should we share an agenda like in the Luma that everyone is signing up to? And they were like, what did you tell me, Irina? They were like, oh no, I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's gonna take too much time. I'll just make a website. I was like, yeah, of course. Of course, yeah. Why not? So I'm gonna share in the chat. Irina has actually prepared a little website where you can follow along our sessions because obviously that takes less time than just sharing some copy. All right, I'm gonna step out from the stage and let our stars shine here. let me out. Or I'm gonna sit next to you, Namba. Awesome. Feel free to start sharing your screen whenever you like.
Okay, so let's go. I just want to quickly say that it was me who was lucky to join Floxies community because I can't even emphasize enough how important it was in my career and personal growth as well. So yeah, that was super important decision in my life. Okay, so I'll start sharing my screen with that website, which
I shared it in the chat, and I'm also gonna share it on socials. So people, if you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, again, send a message so that I know that you're here. I can see there's a few people watching, and you should be receiving the URL. Here it is. Cool.
Okay, so let's go. So a quick overview again. So we have 5 weeks, 5 sessions, which week 1 is today. I want to cover page structure and wireframing, and then week 2 typography and color, and then in September we'll talk about layout. And this so this site now, I added all the information for week 1, but with every week up coming, I'll add information for that week, so you can just click on the link and you can see it. So let's go. And I wanted to start with a very simple question: what is design at all? Because I'm very passionate about design, and so I love this opportunity to talk about it today. And design is quite amazing if you think everything that you use in your life, pretty much everything, look around, it was designed by someone. So what is design? And I chose this quote to start by Charles Ings. It's some famous American designer, filmmaker, architect. And he said, design is a plan for arranging elements in such a way as best to accomplish a particular purpose. So 2 things here that are important and we always need to keep in mind when we're designing. So first of all, that there is a purpose. So every design has a purpose. And the purpose in most of cases, not always, but in most of cases, it's not just a beautiful look. So it's something else, an ultimate goal. And then we have an intention or a plan, a decision, how we're going to do things so that we can achieve that purpose. And for me, I talk a lot about intentional design. So every of your design decisions, it's important that it has a reason and you can explain why you're doing that and what is your intention and how it's going to help you to achieve your main goal. So we'll focus on web design because that's what I do. And web design is basically a design of websites, if we want to put it simply. Or we can say it's a process of creating the look, feel, and structure of a website. And generally, it includes 3 stages. So stage 1 is research and planning. It starts with discovery when you talk to your client, and then you do a research, and then you come up with a strategy. And I'll only touch briefly here. Our format doesn't allow us to cover every topic in depth, so this part I'll only touch very briefly. But what do we do during this phase? We first and the most important, we define a goal, and every website usually should have one main goal. There might be a few others, but in most of cases there should be one, Rob Hope calls it North Star of your website, that is always you look at it, it's always there, and all your decisions should be aligned with that. So we define our goals, and then we think about our audience, who is going to use this website. And we think about user persona, and we need to think what this person who's going to use it, how do they feel now and how are they going to feel after they started using our product or service. And like our goal is that we can help them to solve some problems. So a website should show them that there is a problem, but there is here you are a happy person who doesn't have that problem, and it kind of like leads you how you can become that happy person without this problem. So yeah, we define our user persona, and we do competitor analysis, which again, there are two approaches here. Most of time, I would say we want to kind of blend in. So we look at our, I mean, we don't want to stand out. Like there are certain practices within the industry, and we want, most of times we want to follow them. So we can take that approach, or we can take a different approach. And maybe we do want to stand out, and we want to position ourselves differently. Like we're completely not like others. So, but in either case, you need to understand who are these others, who are your competitors. So you do competitors analysis, and you think about your content, obviously. So that all happens during your research phase. And then a next phase of web design, when we did all that research, we have like our strategy, let's say, we want to create something like physical, right, visual out of it. So we start, we create low fidelity design, which is a structure of a website. So when previously I said web design is a process of creating look, feel, and structure. So our wireframes, that will be a structure of our website. And when we go to high fidelity design, then we talk about look and feel. But for second phase, we don't want to think at all about look, not much about feel, but we want to think about usability a lot. We want to create a structure that helps our users to achieve their goals, and their goals should be aligned with our website goal. So we create a sitemap. This could be like I could add to
point.
research, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. So we create a sitemap, and then we think about what exactly, which content, and we're gonna have on each page, and we start wireframing.
I'm gonna stop you there for a second, Irina, because I think it's really beautiful that you started off. As you were explaining the whole process that starts with user research, I could see the progression of the website. So I could see the impact. I could see the effect of the website even before you put it on a web page. And so I think that's really important to be able to visually imagine what the progression is going to be for your end user. So whether it's a client or whoever you're designing it for, I thought that was really beautiful to think about what's your North Star, what's your user persona, what are your competitors doing. It's really important. And what you said as well about helping them get to the happy person that they can be.
Happy place.
Yeah, helping them get to the happy place. And now, as you're talking more about the structure of the actual, the page structure and the wireframe, the way that I'm processing that information in my mind is very visual again. And I'm thinking like, okay, it's like, when you're building a house, you start with the foundations, you start, with, I don't know, I'm not a constructor, like with the walls and the floors, I don't know. But like you help people, you design around what's the ultimate experience, which is living there. And so like similar to when you're building a website, you have to really think about all the structure before you let people in.
Yeah, and yeah, completely. And yeah, both, or not both, all three these stages, they're very important. Like research is extremely important. We don't want to jump into wireframing without doing research. And wireframes, I mean, 1 second, sorry, just charging. Sometimes we tend to skip wireframes sometimes, but again, I find them extremely important because you can focus on usability. You can focus on like your user needs. And then obviously high fidelity design. Yeah, I need that too. So, okay, let's now talk about wireframes. So wireframes, they are all about how it works, how the website works. So if high fidelity design is about how it looks, how it feels, wireframe is about how it works, its functionality. And wireframes are basically layouts that help you to see how to place what elements you have on a page and how you place them. And again, as I said, because we don't have that distraction, by thinking about like, oh, what font I'm going to use, or what like color I'm going to use, or even layout shouldn't distract us, like how we're going to place it. That's why we can have our focus on users' needs. And some of the questions that we might ask during this phase is, what information does the user need first? And what can motivate them to continue scrolling through your website? And what can potentially stop them and make them leave? And how can we prevent that? Wireframe is basically a map of how your user gonna go through your website so that they can reach their goals, which again I mentioned, the user's goals, they need to be aligned with your North Star, with your website main goal. And wireframes are extremely important in my view, and they help to create like smooth user flow, and they help to present, like, see your information hierarchy very clear, and you can think about navigation patterns during this phase. So how do we actually create them? There are multiple ways, and there is no specific rules. You might create it in Figma, you might sketch it on a piece of paper, or one of my favorite ways is you can create a text wireframe where you can literally just write on a paper and use like navigation bar, include links, and you like mention all the links that include a button, and then hero section, H1 this, H2 that, CTA this, and you just create that kind of like a text document where you mention all the elements that are presented on the page. This is a wireframe too, or at least I was told that it's a wireframe too. And I agree with that, because it does give you a very clear structure of your website, and it completely takes away all that guessing about like, should I have 3 columns here or 2 columns, or like how do I place it? So you can purely concentrate on the information that your user is going to see, and that is going to guide him to make his decisions. And as an example, I actually want to show. So nice. This is a little wireframe I created for this site that we're looking at now. And even though it's extremely simple site, but I still felt like I need to create this wireframe. So it's table of content, and H1, H2, something you will see that, and little flowers in the corner. So it's extremely simple.
I love that.
It's really helpful. It's really helpful. And I would strongly suggest always start with that.
I think we have a question from Zainab.
Hey, I'm sorry.
Do you have a question, Zainab?
Yeah, it's just that I cannot see the wireframe. All I can see is actually the page that outlines the structure.
That's because Irina was showing it on a camera.
Yeah,
like it was a
camera?
sheet of paper.
Yeah, because my bad. Because our page, basically the main page for me was the what she was presenting on the structure, so I couldn't see that. But
no worries.
Thank you, Irina.
No worries. Irina, I do have a question as well, and I promise I'm not gonna interrupt you again. How much time do you usually invest in this whole phase of research, creating a wireframe?
A lot of time. Well, it really depends on the project, and it depends on deadlines. Sometimes we just do not have that time, I mostly work as a freelancer, and I don't work on some like large project that lasts a year or something. So it most of time, there is a deadline. So I would say ideally, I want to have at least a week so I can do my research. Yeah, and I can think about everything. I can create a clear strategy, and I create a sitemap and wireframes, and like think about all the information and what content we need. So I would say like a week, but sometimes for very simple websites it can be a day, and for very big websites, very large projects, it can be months easily.
Yeah, I can see that's fair. I think it depends on the use case. I think a minimum a week sounds
But yeah,
yeah.
I do make sure to dedicate time to that, because I would never jump into like just straight, oh, let's draw something,
Right.
move
It's a process that shouldn't be rushed,
yeah.
or the house will crash or burn.
Okay, so we create this wireframe which basically shows us the page structure. And what is that page structure? Of course, there is no any like set rules. It depends on the project. But as an example, I want to show you a page structure that works for most marketing websites. And the page structure should align with how people, search for information online, how they make their decisions, how they scan through the pages, and when they click the link, they normally have some questions, and most common question is, what is this? Is it relevant to me? Can I trust it? And what do I do now? So we aim to answer these questions. We don't want user to leave user, wondering. I'm
Guessing.
not sure. I'm guessing, yeah. So a well-structured page is predictable in a good way, and predictability is actually like a well-known concept in UX design. Users, they do like predictability. It reduces their cognitive load. They know what to expect, and they feel more in control. So as the result, they might engage more with our website. That's why the structure that I show you'll see it everywhere, right? I'm sure you're actually pretty familiar with it. But the reason why it's everywhere is because it actually works, and also it's because what people came to expect. So, for example, if I have a specific question, I'll scroll all like the way down to the page for frequently asked questions section. I expect it to be there. And if I scroll all the way down and if I don't find it there, then I might get like, okay, I don't want to, I'll just leave it. So yeah, there are specific patterns that we used to, and we like when we like this predictability. So this is example. It was created with Relume AI site builder, which you can use for creating wireframes. It was very simple. I just gave it a prompt, like create a website for a company that sells organic coffee on subscription, and I gave specific section that I wanted to see, and like within seconds, boom, it gave me a wireframe. I want to say that here we focus on a type of section. We it doesn't matter the specific layout. In fact, I don't like some of this layout that were chosen by AI, but this is totally not the point here. Again, coming back to wireframe is a structure of a website. It's not how it looks. We might move this image to the right, to the left. We might choose completely different composition, but what we want to talk about here is the structure of a website. So let's go. obviously, first element that all websites have is navigation. Almost all websites have. And if it's multi-page website, it's no-brainer. We want navigation. For landing pages, like one-page websites, we usually want a navigation too, because we want to think about people who, for example, come back to our site. They already visited it and they decided to come back and they know exactly what they're looking for, or they just know, maybe their first time, but they want to check, like, to find an answer to one specific question. So usually for landing pages, we like to have navigation too, but not always. Sometimes there is another opinion when you can say, I want the user to go through the whole experience in order. But that's mostly for websites which create very immersive experiences. Then you don't want your users to just jump back and forth. You want them to scroll from top to down. Then you might not have navigation, but in most cases we want it so. And we have links there, and we have usually we want to have a CTA call to action there, and obviously our logo. And second section is hero section, or that's how I call it. It might have some other names too. I call it hero section. It's a very important section, and I'll come back to it a bit later. Because of its importance, I felt like I need to talk about it more. But basically, hero section answers the question: what is this? Like, what am I looking at, or is it relevant to me? I like this question. Actually, I ask myself when I open something, I think, like, is it for me at all or not? And the goal of hero section is to grab users' attention and prompt them to, like, continue engaging with our website. So this section is very important, and it's very important to have a very clear message here. If it's vague, if, like, again, from my personal experience as a user, if I don't understand if I look at the hero section and I don't understand what this website is about, I'm not going to scroll down. Like, I'm done with this.
In a matter of seconds, given.
Yep. Exactly. It only takes you like seconds. And so hero section is extremely important. And then most of times you want to add some social proof, and often it can be logos if it's relevant, to the company business, or maybe something else, maybe a quote from your, like, most important customer. You have someone, like, very famous, so something. It's a good idea to kind of, like, add it right away, because you immediately build trust. So at this point, okay, what is this? Okay, I understand. So, but can I trust this? And with social proof, you receive perceived risk, because nowadays it's risky to believe everything you find online. And then you might want to add, so this block of it can be moved around a bit, and some sections might be omitted. So it really, you need to look at every particular case, but it might be a good idea to add an overview section where you kind of, like, explain more about your product, because hero usually has just a few lines, but you want to tell more. What is it? And you create kind of, like, you drive a deeper engagement with this section. And then very important section. So, okay, I understand what it is now, but does it actually help me? So how does it relate to me? And that's where you present your main features that show the value for user. So we always think about solving some problem. So a user, if he came here, he had some kind of a problem he's trying to solve. And in this feature section, we show him how we do it, how we solve his problems. So this you will see on practically every marketing website.
If they're done well.
Yes, if they're done well. Okay, so we show our user, look, we can solve your problems, but then I might think, okay, it sounds good, but is it actually going to work? And here you can add some social proof again, but now in form of some kind of testimonial and actual story, how it did help already a person who had a similar problem, and now he doesn't have it, and now he's in that happy place, right? So this section generally it helps users to kind of like apply to them. Okay, if it happened to someone else, it might happen to me too then. So if they feel so, like, I don't know, they took that supplement and they're now like full of energy. Wow, cool. So maybe if I do the same, I take a supplement, maybe I'll feel a lot of energy too. So this is social proof. And then again, that depends. Sometimes we might have this section, some not. But we need to have at least something that would tell user, so okay, we convinced him. He wants to be that happy and solve his problem, but what is he supposed to do now? Or question, how do I get started? So we can add that section of how it works. And this is like, I don't like the layout at all, but it could have been done in much clearer way. But again, it's not the point, but this is the section where we show the exact steps. So, okay, user agreed he wants that product. So what do them do now? And we need to tell them exactly what to do, because it needs to be very clear, and we need to reduce all possible friction. Any tiniest bit of friction on this user experience can easily end up with them just leaving the website. Again, nowadays we have so many options, so many companies and websites and products and services. We know there's a lot of other ones out there. We're not gonna, if we feel that little friction that stops us from going forward, we just leave and like, okay, I can find something better. So it's really important. So that's why this section, how it works, or maybe something similar, but that shows which step exactly do I need to take now. And then some users here, they already press that button, they subscribe, they're convinced, but some might still have little doubts. Then we can add about section. And about section basically answers the question, why should I choose you, not some other company? And here you can tell your story, the story behind your brand or your personal like story as a founder. And that helps to create that emotional connection with the user. And for me, for example, that often converts me. Like I look through a whole site, like, okay, but then I read some story that really touches something, and like shows the values, and these values align with my values, and like, okay, no, I need to try that. So I think this is actually quite important. And then we obviously have these frequently asked questions. So that's when usually if they scrolled up all the way here, they are interested. In most of times, but they might still have a few questions, few concerns. So we'll try to answer these questions here.
I wonder what's the ratio of people actually buying or clicking the CTA and then checking the FAQs. I wonder I'm just thinking I would definitely be one of those people.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Possibly. Yeah. So whatever questions I have, so we'll through the whole wireframe, we try to answer users' question, and whatever we can think about that is left, we put it here. And of course, we like show them a clear way to contact us if we didn't answer some of their questions. And again, this is my strong belief that every page should finish with call to action, because like literally if someone scrolled all the way down, what else do I do? Just press that button. So yeah, I would say that every page you put call to action at the end, because if you convince them and they feel fine, but even that little even if we have link in a navbar, that takes some effort to look up and find that button. But if it's right in front of you, again, it removes that friction, even the tiniest one. And it's just so easy to, just click it. And I like to go actually with something kind of like bold in the end. But again, design my worry. But I think this is very, very important to add call to action in the end of every page, or at least like main page. So yeah, and the goal of this is obviously to convert our user into customer. And then we always have a footer that kind of like for more information and encourage further engagement with our page if they want to connect with us on social. If they, that's like that could be like a primary call to action, but say user, it's nice to include some subscription. If user is not quite ready to press that main CTA, but they are interested, so it's a good idea to include kind of like secondary CTA, subscribe them to some what's it called?
Mailing list. Yeah.
Mailing list. Yeah. So that's it. And it's flexible. We can move this section around. We might not need some of them, and it will be specific for each case. But in most cases, we'll have something similar to that. And this is a really good starting point to start thinking of your page structure.
Brilliant. Yeah. And I want to reiterate the fact that we're doing this, we're hosting these design fundamentals, this summer camp, which, we love that name. But we're doing it because we've noticed how easy today can be to just generate a quick landing page. You just like drop in, especially, with all the different AI tools and whatnot, which is great for inspiration, I believe. I don't know. And please, Irina, just tell me if I'm talking nonsense here, but
no, I agree with you. Yeah,
I think it's a very easy trap to fall into. It's great for inspiration and whatnot, and please use them and please get to know all these tools. But it's really, really important that you do understand why we're doing what we're doing. And if you get started with these sort of, not even the structure, but just like with these fundamentals, you would be a much stronger designer even when you're using those tools.
Yep, totally. And it's exactly as you said it. We need to understand why we're doing what we're doing, and every one of this section, it needs to be backed by that research you already made. And we can't transfer that knowledge to AI. We can give a few facts to AI, but your research should include much more than just a short, like 3-sentence prompt. And when you make a decision, not an AI, it should be backed by a lot of knowledge, while AI just makes some random choices. So absolutely use it for inspiration, or sometimes maybe as a starting point, or give you ideas, but then you need to kind of like adjust it to the needs of this specific project.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. Amazing. Well, before we open up the floor, I guess this is it for the presentation. And so our next step will be our Q&A with our audience and with our Floxies here.
How about we
tell me.
go?
Yeah, sure.
There's one little bit. Just,
sure.
Yeah, because I see the time. I'll be quick here. So hero section, the name says it all. So that's the most important section of because that's the thing that the user see when he clicks the link. That's the only thing you can be sure they will see. Everything else you don't know, but this the only thing. Well, if site loads, of course. So it's very important. You need to treat it as a cover of a magazine. If you go to if you see go to a shop and you see lots of magazines, you're not gonna take one by one and open and check. You just look at the covers and you see what grabs your attention. So the same thing goes about hero section. So it grabs your attention. It needs to show the value instantly, and it needs to invite you to explore further. And key elements here is a clear description of your offer, including your main unique selling proposition, so how you're different from others, and including the value that you provide, like what kind of problem you solve for your user. And you need to have one standout call to action. So you can have more buttons, but I think that the best is to have only one that actually stands out. I saw the website where they had like several buttons, they all look the same, and it's really like you need to make choices, you need to make decisions. No, we can't afford that. So it needs to be one clear CTA that stands out, and that leads to that, you know, North Star, our main goal. And yeah, you can include image or video of your product mock-up, or of your customer, how they will feel when you solve their problem. So some kind of emotional aspect. And very quickly, some tips. So if you're using a punchy title, like, you know, some kind of like a punchy line, then make sure that in a subtitle you give more details about what exactly you offer. So from your hero section, users need to understand what exactly you offer. So punchy title, then more specific
use
subtitle.
a punchy title, make sure you don't knock them off.
So now it's very common to include social proof in hero section. And also there is a concept, it's called tease continuation. It's I learned about it, well, I see it everywhere, but the term itself I learned it from Dan PT. So when you partially show something, and it's our natural, like it's how our psychology works, we want to see the whole thing. We saw a little bit, we need to see the whole thing. So it invites us to scroll down. And the example I'm including, and it's funny, so I went to One Page Love website, which like the best landing pages, and I literally clicked on the first one, and it has it all. So I didn't need to search anything. So
shout out to Rob at One Page.
Has yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it has a punchy title. Your family deserves to know, but it doesn't tell us anything about product, right? What you know, but it's kind of like grabs your attention. And then they have very good description here. So it's the family data organizer that helps you secure your store, and So they gave a description, you understand what it is. There is one button, they actually have a navbar, but it appears later. So you see, again, they used this like tactic not to have two buttons. They only have on a hero one button, and the navbar with this button, it appears later when you scroll. So there is one clear CTA, there is a social proof here, and the teasing continuation, so you want to scroll down. So that's a little example.
Nice color palette as well, but we will talk about that in the following lessons. Well, Irina, that was brilliant. Thank you so much, for sharing all that value in such a short time, with extreme clarity. So thank you so much. I feel like I've learned a ton, and I can see from our chats as well. I saw Brittany on LinkedIn. She says she's learning a lot. So it's not just me being a fangirl here. And speaking of value,
so if I may add something,
Aga, yes, I was gonna put you in.
Thank you. Because I think that the best knowledge is when we implement it and we try it in practice. We decided to create some kind of the weekly challenge for you. So we would like to propose a theme that you are going to work on within the week. And we are going to meet every Monday during our focus hours on our new swimming pool fancy space when we can relax, hang out, and work on design. So during these focus hours we can answer your questions, and we can I can help you manage some issue that you may have during this week when you are going to work on the design. So you are invited to join our space and to work on this together.
You're invited to the pool party / focus hour. every Monday. I'm going to share the details in our Discord, so you'll see the time, the location, and everything else. Penny, over to you.
Just a quick question about the challenge. Are we just essentially doing that part of the process that Irina just went over in terms of structure, or are you expecting us to go beyond that since we haven't covered those other elements yet?
Yeah, good questions. So yeah, for our week, so again, reason why we created that weekly challenge, because if you just listen about something and then you forget it, and that happens to me all the time, you need to put it into practice. And we thought that creating wireframes might be not very exciting. You know, so we decided to as our weekly challenge to do hero section, because we talked about it, right? So we would like to invite you to create a hero section that includes all these elements we talked about, and that would make a user to scroll down your page. And we you can use the example we provided, or you can choose your own theme. So basically we just would love to see your designs where you use all the principles that we discussed today. And if you want to build that design in Webflow, then there will be some bonus points.
Amazing. And then maybe what we can do during the next lesson, we can allocate 5 minutes to go through your work.
Yeah.
And so you can give live
yeah.
feedback.
Totally. And then, yeah, we can, during our next session, we can have a look at what was created.
Sounds good to me. All righty. Let's see how much time. We've got 5 minutes left for our Q&A. If anyone here has any questions, and please use your emoji to raise your hand if you do have any questions that you would like to ask our guests here live. I know that we do have a question here from the YouTube, so I'm going to pick that one up unless I see any hands coming from our Floxies. And the question we had was from Deborah, which I'm going to scroll up and find. Sorry, Deborah. I said to her that I would ask this like ages ago. Oh, here it is. What are the key areas you prioritize in your research when you're working under time constraints?
Under time constraints. Well, the most important thing that I do, I always do that, at least that. And I imagine myself being that person who, you know, trying to solve that problem and what kind of questions I might have. So, well, competitor I definitely want to have a look at competitors. And then I would, try to imagine that user journey and what their needs and what question they might have. So, yeah, that's the most important, I think.
So finding that North Star as well.
Well, oh yeah. So sorry, that was like the obvious one. Yeah, totally. That without it, you just don't move. You don't even start. So yeah, first you find that North Star, the main goal of a page, and then you can have a look at competitors, and you can try to be that. Because again, under time constraints, obviously we don't have time for user research, but we can try to imagine being that user and like how would we scroll through that website and what questions might pop up in our head.
Brilliant. Another question from Felicity. Felicity. Hi, Felicity, watching from YouTube. She says, how do we deal with clients that keep on changing their direction?
That's a tricky question. What my approach is, when I send a proposal and I clarify everything, and I show our roadmap, I show what steps we're going to take, and it's very clear for client that, for example, we created the design, then we have a revision, like how many rounds of revision we have, and so on and so far. And so yeah, basically you just don't give them chance to do that too often.
Yeah,
and if
that's a good point.
they do want, you then say, okay, that's out of our contract, we can't continue working like that. So what would you like to do now? Do you want to add some extra work They might, it happens, it's totally like, it happens to all of us. We start something with, you know, one idea, and then we go through and we have another idea. So, but yeah, you are a professional, you hired under specific conditions, so you just tell them, would you like to change, like add some more revisions to that, or would you like to just stick to what we have now?
I think that's a very good point. The more guardrails you have, the less room to move around.
You want them to be informed about it. You don't want to just like suddenly tell them, oh, you know what, that's not how it works. No, they need, when you start a project, they need to know that that's how it works.
Which is so important to, as you're saying, keep them informed and to work on that structure that you're talking about. So you can always go back with the data. You can go back with what you've built up until that moment and be like, okay, this is what we worked on last week. This is the structure. If you want to add that extra thing or take out that extra thing, this is how that would change. And this is the time that it would take me to do that. Would you like to proceed?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much. This was absolutely brilliant. I hope everyone enjoyed it here. We have lots of Floxies, so I'm really pleased to see that, and I'm really happy to see some faces that I hadn't seen in a while. So yeah. I'm just like super ecstatic, and I hope you guys had a good time as well. I know that Irina and Aga, you were slightly worried about going live, but was it that bad?
No, it was
it was awesome.
Great. Yeah, I'm so excited about this opportunity, and I'm really happy that I got to do two of my favorite things. I got to talk about design, and I got to hang out with lovely Floxies. So, I mean, what's not to like?
I love that so much. And the learning doesn't stop here. You've heard it from Aga. You can meet up with her on the Monday. You'll find the details in our Discord shortly after the stream. She's kindly accommodated some of her time to guide you through the exercises. And so, Aga, thank you so much for that as well. And
you're welcome.
I guess we will see you all next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Bye everyone.